Good morning. My name is Tom. I come to you from the great state of Maine. I've had some great comments coming in lately about, people, I've been 5 years with this channel and we're up to 600 videos. And a lot of the videos are on survival and on just plain taking care of yourself. If everything goes down in the crapper, as far as, being able to set some food aside, canning, putting food in the freezer, basically just taking care of yourself. And it's been great to see in the comments different people that are doing everything from canning pork to canning sweet potatoes. Boy, all kinds of stuff have come in lately. And I really get a kick out of that, because I think that is just so important. We just had a really bad weather forecast here in the state of Maine, where they, that Hurricane Lee that was coming through. And they spent a couple of weeks beating the heck out of everybody, scaring the bejeepers out of them. And, there was a lot of, you see people, there were lines at the gas station at 9 o'clock at night. One place, my sister-in-law called and she said that the line was down the road at 9 o'clock at night. The same thing with the grocery stores. Every time we get a snowstorm call in the weather, and they don't even, now it could be a 2-inch snowstorm and they shut the whole, they think they got to shut the whole state down, according to the weatherman. I think that is coming from two areas. One thing, we've had it soft for quite a few years. I remember years where you get 2 feet in a snowstorm, and those aren't, we haven't had those for a while. So the weatherman, he got to play up every snowstorm like it's the biggest one in 100 years. They do it for ratings, and they want you to watch the news that week. So if they start beating their drum on Monday and the storm is on Saturday, well, that gives them a whole week to beat the drum. So, you people that aren't planned ahead or whatever, or get your tighty whities in a bunch every time the weatherman says the weather's going to change. This might not be the state for you. This is the state of Maine. And, when I was growing up, the saying was, you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. Well, this is the state of Maine. So whether you've moved here, and there's a lot of young people that was born here that haven't seen severe winters. And I think that plays into a lot of it too, as well as the weathermen. The weathermen are coming in here from other places that obviously don't have winter storms. Because, if you're talking about a 4-inch storm, for one thing, why are you even talking about a 4-inch storm? Because that's not a snowstorm. A 4-inch snowstorm is a dusting. And now, a dusting is a flurries, It's not supposed to be that way. So everybody, take it down a notch. If you take it down a notch, and these fair weather weathermen that want to scare you every time that the weather changes here in the state of Maine, they'll have to take it down a notch. The same thing with rushing to the grocery store and buying up every gallon of milk. Or if you don't have a few days worth of where you can't ride out a snowstorm, or you can't ride out a couple of days of rain, you're not living right. There's something wrong with your picture. So yeah, I don't even know what to say to that. Anybody that can't ride out a snowstorm without having to run to the grocery store before the storm hits. This is the state of Maine. That happens. Just because the weatherman's saying a 2-inch storm is going to shut the whole state down, doesn't mean you've got to jump as high as he wants you to jump. So I'm saying that as friendly as I can, but keep that in mind, that that's what they want you to do. On Monday, when they're talking about a snowstorm for Saturday, there's too many days in between for them to get that weather forecast right. And 9 times out of 10, they're not going to get it right. This is the state of Maine. The weather changes every 5 minutes. Today is a little bit warmer than yesterday. Yesterday was a nice, cool fall day. I don't watch the weather. I don't watch the news anymore. And the reason I don't is because you can't believe them. And why do you want to get all hyped up every time the weatherman comes on the news? That's what they got him there for. Years ago, you had weather halfway through the news report. The news was 30 minutes long. The weatherman came in at 15 minutes in. It was a one-shot deal. Now the weatherman is the first thing out of the gate. He's throughout the whole weather forecast. Repeat, all day long. Repeat, how bad it's going to be. That's because they're trying to get you to watch the 6 o'clock news. That's all it's about. It is the state of Maine. We're going to have some weather. Plan for it. Put an extra can of beans on the shelf. You don't have to have a 100-acre garden to ride out a 3-day snowstorm. You know, have a couple of basics, that's all. You know, and I don't know how to say it any nicer than that, but I've been saying this for 5 years on this channel. There are people in the state that's just how they live. It's not a big deal if you're going to have a week's worth of foul weather. Yeah, I mean, you're already stocked up. You live with that in mind, that you might lose the power for a day or two. So the people that I know, that's just everyday life. And if everyday life you be able to take care of yourself, then you don't need to jump 4 feet off the ground just because the weatherman is coming on and saying there's a storm coming. Because you already know you have the skills, the ability, and the supplies to carry you through that 3 or 4 days. Even if it's a month, it shouldn't. You shouldn't live that way. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. That's not a good way to live. That you never know what's gonna. You can take care of yourself in 3 days. In my world, who lives that way? Who lives that way? That we got a 3-day snowstorm coming, and we're just not ready for it. I don't live that way, and I kind of want to urge you not to live that way. That's a crazy way to live. But anyways, I'm just sitting here having coffee. I got a pot of traps on behind me, and that crazy idea of the weatherman, he kind of snuck into the back of my head, and I got thinking about how everybody gets their underwear in a bunch every time the weatherman speaks. Now that we've got fall weather starting to roll into the state, and that foolish hurricane warning that they had up for a week. Again, this is Maine. It is rare that we get a hurricane. I'm not saying we don't. We do. Since I've lived here, I know of at least 2 hurricanes that came close. That's over 40 years. So we do get hurricanes, and there have been some big ones that have hit the state of Maine. And if you go back over the last 50 years, or even more than that, there's different things that do. But you don't need to get into a big pucker for absolutely everything that the weatherman says is going to happen. For one thing, he's wet behind his ears most of the time now. Most of the time, the weathermen I've seen are young kids from away that have moved here to take a job. That's not a very good resume for the state of Maine weather forecast. For one thing, whatever weather he's used to, it's not going to happen here. And down the road, we will get bigger storms. Down the road, we're definitely going to get bigger storms. It's just the way it is. It's a cycle of life. It's a cycle of weather. Down the road, we will get back to our big snowstorms. You know, so that's just the way it is. Anyway, you guys have a cup of coffee with me, and I will see you next week.